You are about to enter a space of ultimate football knowledge from four guys with little to no actual football experience, except for armchair quarterbacking. Brace yourself for passion and knowledge like you have never seen. Welcome to the Football is King podcast. Hello, everybody. We are back from the dead. It has been some weeks since we have seen you.
Yes, it has.
And I appreciate all of those who reached out and asked if everything was okay. It's okay. We unfortunately had some stuff going on and we couldn't make it work for a couple weeks there. But don't worry. We've been watching all the stuff. I guess not the best timing from us. I don't believe we ever did. Did we do an episode after we came back from Shreveport?
No.
I don't think so. So I would like to say that we did not just chicken out because A&M lost a football game. Actually, those are the episodes that do the best for us. So we would probably have put that out. Just we were busy from post trip and couldn't all get together, and then stuff happened last week as well that we couldn't film. So we appreciate everybody reaching out and asking if the podcast was just dead and gone forever. It's not. We're here. We're excited to talk.
Ghost Crew.
Yeah, we're going to talk all things college football week 12 today. I will just go ahead precursor this. I was officiating a wedding this weekend, so I did not watch any games except for following them on my phone. So,
Valid excuse.
I watched some great game casts on my phone.
Those get interesting too.
Yeah, they did. So I didn't see many of the plays, but I
There's
saw
a
what
big
happened.
delay, and you just have to sit there and think, what is happening?
Yeah. TV timeouts are the worst. Sorry, that is not true. I did watch the Texas Arkansas game because we had it on because they're UT fans. So I watched a pretty good chunk of Texas versus Arkansas. So I saw some game breaks and some things like that. I watched a little bit of Tennessee, Georgia as well at night on Saturday, but
Good for about a half.
yeah, I mean, I feel like this weekend of college football it's just like we went back to the beginning of the season, whereas like you had one good game and then everything else was just like the SEC teams were playing their cupcakes, so that's not super great.
Well, I wish they would time it all. Honestly, I wish they would go all 1 week. I feel like it used to be the week before Thanksgiving, they'd all play cupcakes. Now it's like half the teams played their cupcakes, half the teams played actual teams. Now next week it's flipped.
Yeah, and
which
then
gives you less good games.
True. Then like your I feel like the times were kind of weird, like Colorado, Utah playing it at 11 instead of late at night. Like that's two West Coast teams playing.
That's like 9 a.m. local time.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. South Carolina, Missouri was like a good game between two not so great teams, but like it was a fun thing. I don't know. There were some upsets though. The SEC has really got to get their crap together. Like, is the SEC the Big 12?
We're about to have big problems in college football. Like I think this week maybe even accentuated a little bit because everyone who should have won, and it actually made it worse because now we have we have the possibility of having 6 2-loss teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
So 6 teams, which all played very different strengths of schedule here.
And all of them in their losses, they look putrid. Like they look bad.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. That's where I'm like, all right, wait, is the SEC the new Big 12? Because it's perfect for the chaos of everyone can beat anyone on any day. But the problem is like the teams that are supposed to be good when they are losing badly.
Ugly.
Like it's not good.
I think we're going to run into a problem here. I think they're going to have to figure out quickly. I think because the conference got so big, they didn't really plan ahead very well. They got to fix the strength of schedule situation, which I know it's hard to do because you don't know what team each team's going to do. But it's so like Georgia has the biggest gripe.
Yeah. Georgia,
like 5 top 25 teams.
Correct. They've played like 5 top 5 teams.
I think they've won 2 top 15 games, but they're getting penalized for the loss at Ole Miss, which they lost.
And they looked horrible. They looked like they had never played football before.
But then you have other teams like A&M's gotten a favorable schedule.
A&M,
Texas has a pretty favorable
Texas, yeah,
schedule.
Texas for sure.
So it's like you go through these weeks. Georgia's played twice to three times as many top 25 teams, and they're getting held to the same standard, which you really
And
can't do.
almost all of their top 10 games have been on the road. Now, obviously, this
Yes,
weekend it wasn't, but like they had to play Texas on the road, Bama on the road, and Ole Miss on the road.
yeah, that's
And
tough.
it's that's the
And then
yeah.
Tennessee at home. It's been a
Yeah, I
tough.
definitely think that the easiest thing would be doing splitting it in half again. Like
Yeah,
I know that it got big. You gotta add a ninth game. Sorry.
and it
And
can work because they used to do it similarly, where if you just add the ninth game, then you can play one team from the East or whatever
yeah,
it is, whatever you want to call
and you can do it better strength of schedule wise. And every year you will have that team that gets like, oh shoot, we drew Georgia from the East. That sucks.
it. Yeah, yeah,
But like I mean that's once every 10 years. So
yeah. You're gonna be fine.
you're gonna be all right there.
The only other
Uh
option was keep it at 8 and play only your teams in your division, which then just split into a separate conference.
yeah. And it's just
The other solution is, and I don't know how you can do this effectively because they don't play as many games. You almost have to do it like the NCAA basketball tournament committee does it, where you have quad one wins, quad two wins, quad four loss, whatever it is. Like
yeah. The
you have
problem is with basketball, they play so many games, it's easier to determine who's in what
exactly.
quadrant. While in football, there's such little contamination, like cross contamination, where it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard. It'd be really
I
unless
don't know
you
that would work.
forced. You'd have to force the Big Ten and the SEC. Like every SEC school has to play Big Ten school or whatever you want to
Yeah,
do.
because yeah, if they did the quadrant thing, college football, they would just do it based off of the name of the program, like
Which they already kind
which
of
they
do.
already kind of do, even though some teams are not as good, or whatever. Like we all have been saying for forever that Miami's really not that good, and that they just kept
Yeah.
getting lucky because they were playing bad teams and playing them close, and then they finally
The
got caught.
only the only way I think you can do it is like the most obvious situation I think right now is Texas and Georgia, where it's like Georgia beat Texas. Texas has no. Their best win is Vanderbilt, maybe.
I mean, it just depends on what you mean by their best win. Like they absolutely demolished Oklahoma.
Yeah, but
I mean, Oklahoma's
the best team
the
they beat,
worst team, but they looked good.
the best team they beat is probably Vanderbilt,
Or
maybe
Florida,
even
but they
Florida.
played Florida with the third
Quarter.
string quarterback, so it's like,
But Georgia beat Texas on the road. Georgia has way better wins than Texas, but they also have one more loss.
and their losses are just like the problem with Georgia is they're the coin flip team. If Georgia's offense shows up like they did against Texas, Georgia's probably the best team in the country.
If they show up.
If Carson Beck is having one of those days, then they're like the 40th best team in the country.
Yeah,
Like, I want to know actually how good their backup quarterback is. Where Kirby, if he could just tell in the first quarter, like, hey, Carson's not got it today. Like, can their backup do better? Because
I don't even know who
Carson Beck kind of like is detrimental to the team when he's off.
Yeah, their backup, I think, is some kid named Gunner. I think 5-star kid.
But I mean, when Carson Beck is on, the dude's a monster.
Yeah.
That's he is gonna get some GM so fired in the
That's
NFL.
exactly what I was thinking. Because they had him at one point. They had him as like the number two, maybe quarterback coming out. Which, granted, there's not that many quarterbacks coming out.
Yeah.
But now I think he's down to like number 5 or 6. I saw on some
He's gonna
draft.
have like he had that good game. Texas has an amazing defense, like top two or three defense in the country. He had a great game against them.
He did,
It's
but
like it's like
when you look at the box score, it's like they start like both them and Texas. Every drive was started on like the
oh
50
yeah, it was all started plus territory to on those
just
scoring drives.
turnover.
But I'm just saying like CJ Stroud wasn't going to be a high first round pick until he played Georgia in the playoffs and looked great. They lost, but he looked great. And like CJ Stroud, as of this moment, a decent pick. He's having a sophomore slump kind of year going right now, but that's very standard.
Yeah,
But if CJ Stroud continues to play the way he has this season, then he's not a bust, but you're gonna put him in the not a win as a quarterback category,
for sure.
like at number two overall. Like he just hasn't played that well.
It's gonna usually. I feel like college football doesn't have this problem because it usually solves itself. This year, it has not solved itself at all. Now, maybe it will the last 2 weeks of the season, but
Yeah.
it's. I think it's very. This was the perfect year for the 12-team playoff, and also the worst year for the 12-team playoff.
Okay. Sorry. By the also like the 2 minutes of college football I watched this weekend, are they also doing? Is it automatically going to 14 teams next year?
I think people were just saying that because this year's been so crazy.
Okay. I mean, I swear, how do you even do 14 teams? That doesn't even make any freaking sense.
I think the goal with that would be to say there's no automatic, like conference champions don't get in automatically. They don't get the top four seeds.
No, I disagree. You win your
That
conference.
could begin in 2026. I
I'm
guess
saying you do just college basketball. That's one of the greatest things is you win your conference tournament there at the end. You get in. That's awesome. Like I don't care if it's
I think it would be the Big Ten and the SEC would get automatic. You give the Big Ten, SEC automatic bids, the Big 12 and whatever else less automatic bids, and then one Group of Five team.
see. I don't like that because recently the Big Ten and the SEC have been the better conferences, but not always.
But
Two
now
years, 2 years ago, the Big Ten was one of the most pathetic things ever, except for Michigan and Ohio State.
it's
Everyone
still
else
kind of
sucked.
Loki. It still kind of is. It's not.
Nah,
I
come
still
on.
think it kind of is.
Give me Sig Signetti and the boys in Indiana.
I think they're going to give me like 30 this week. And I could be wrong. I
I
think
hope they don't.
this has classic Ohio State like blowout written all over it.
For sure. I think Penn State is fine.
I think Penn State's decent, but once
They're
again,
be- they're better than they have been in years
I
previous.
agree. But you
I
look at them,
mean,
they're another team that when you look at their wins, who have they beaten?
yeah, the Big Ten's other teams, the Minnesotas, the Wisconsins, they all are not. Oh, sorry, the Big Ten also has Oregon. Oregon's a very good football team.
Yes, Oregon is a good football.
Um, but like those schools, some of them are the blue bloods, but the blue bloods aren't always very good. Look at Michigan; they kind of suck right now.
Yeah. The only thing I think that does that's good is it uh you're playing against teams in your own conference as opposed to have trying to compare conferences totally.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the ACC will definitely have their resurgence. Like there will be a time where the ACC is better than the Big Ten,
But the
and you
only
can't just do
problem with the
you can't
AC
guarantee that the Big Ten gets so many spots because
it's just
they
a
might
money
not be as good, or
just,
the SEC.
just a money thing because the
Yeah,
ACC is locked into that TV deal for like 14 more years when everyone else just signed humongous deals, so they have all the money.
yeah.
That's
I I,
that's all it is. It's just
I
money is power, I guess. I
I
don't
just
know.
don't like doing anything definitive based on conferences because
I don't either. I beat the
we've
14 best teams.
yeah. I was like also we've just proven recently that the conferences could change at any moment. The SEC could split up the Big 12 and be the SEC first division, SEC second division, SEC third. I don't know what would happen. Who knows? There could be a relegation system. Who knows?
I work decently.
Probably not going to happen, but it
Yeah,
should.
it's going to have to change. So something's going to have to. Well, I don't know if something's going to have to change. I don't think there should be automatic bids. The top four teams should get the bye. Like, just ignore the conferences almost.
I think that I think conference champions should get into the playoff. I just don't think they should be guaranteed to be one, two, three, four.
Yeah, seed them
Seed them appropriately.
for 1 to 12.
But I think that the conference, if you win your conference, you are a team that is good.
Let's make it the NCAA tournament, which you are a team that's good. In college football, you're definitely going to be in if you win your conference
Yeah,
championship.
because how many times does the number one overall seed in college basketball not win their conference championship game in the tournament? It happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean, in football especially, it's going to happen. And you're not playing a team like it's going to be two teams that are in the if you're in a part of a power conference, it's
Yeah,
going to be two teams that are within the top eight typically.
for sure. I personally do not believe that A&M is one of the 12 best teams in the country this year. However, if
They have,
we were to win the SEC title game, that would require at this point us to have beat Auburn, then beat Texas at home, and then beat
Alabama,
whoever,
probably,
that is a team that deserves to be in the playoffs.
for sure.
And same thing with Ole Miss. If Ole Miss somehow makes it into the SEC championship game and they win that game, they deserve to be in the playoff.
I think it's pretty well.
Now, they don't deserve to be the number 2 seed, which they probably would be, but
Yeah, they would be because all those Big Ten
yeah,
teams there.
that's the one thing I don't like is that they're guaranteed to buy. That I don't agree with.
Yeah, I think they should just get the 12 best teams and then seed them appropriately.
Yeah. Because, like, how many times recently has it been like Ohio State versus Iowa, but Iowa's lost a game or two? Like, if you had that one-off game where Iowa beats Ohio, like, sorry, Ohio State is undefeated and they play Iowa with 2 losses in the Big Ten championship game. Like, it doesn't make any sense that Iowa should be a guaranteed 1 or 2 seed because
The
they beat
other the other
Ohio
thing
State one game.
is the fifth seed actually is probably the best seed. Like that's the seed you want to be because you play most likely you're going to play the group of five team in the
Yeah.
first round. Second round, you're going to play the worst champion of a conference.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually almost want to be, if you're not the first seed, you almost want to be the.
Yeah, I do disagree that the group of 5 is always going to be the 12. I don't think that that should
This year
happen.
it may not be. It's getting close
I don't know about that.
because Boise's, I believe, ranked 12 right now.
Boise is ranked 12, but like they're not going to put Boise ahead of Georgia or Tennessee or Ole Miss or Miami. Like, there's no way.
Yes, they're always probably most likely going to be the 12 seed.
All right. My other thing with this, man, the speculation is just strong here early because, like, obviously all of these teams, like Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee, even though they are currently ranked inside the top 12, based off their schedules, they can't all make it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen.
So if you look after number 12, you have SMU, BYU, A&M, Colorado, Clemson, South Carolina. I'll throw them in there too because they've got 3 losses, but they've had like, are you trying to tell me that BYU is better than Georgia? But
So
like,
that's my
does their
problem.
resume make them better than Georgia?
It
Like,
does
that's
it. Georgia has played like the toughest schedule.
sorry. Are you telling me that BYU is better than Ole Miss?
Yeah, no. I
Which
mean,
on their day, maybe they are, because Ole
yeah.
Miss has not had that amazing of a. I kind of feel bad for the committee this year. I do.
The other crazy thing is BYU beat SMU. They have the exact same record, and they're sitting behind them.
Yeah,
What
that's just stupid. That's just a
sense?
stupidity thing. That is a what have you done for me lately? You lost.
Even Alabama, Georgia, it's like Alabama. I guess Alabama beat Georgia, so I'm that's fine. But if we're using the same standards, like Georgia has way better wins than Alabama does.
Yeah, I
I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
I get what they did there. Like Alabama has to be ahead of Georgia because they beat them. Ole Miss also has to be ahead of Georgia because they just beat them.
They're not,
Miami only has 1 loss. The only one I would agree with is Miami being below Ole Miss and Georgia as of right now.
which they are. Because you basically have a sea of SEC 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
The problem is because these teams don't play each other. I mean, a couple of them have played each other already, but towards the end of the season, these teams don't play each other. So it's not going to solve itself.
Yeah, some of these guys are going to lose for sure.
Somebody's got to lose at some point.
It's not even that. Like just knowing the way that the season has gone, someone's going to lose
Like
from
Tennessee has Vanderbilt,
they play.
UTEP, Ole Miss
Yeah.
has Mississippi State, and Florida. I guess Florida looks maybe frisky at best.
Yeah, Florida's frisky. Ole Miss plays Florida in the swamp this weekend. Like,
That could be a loss. Georgia doesn't play anyone. I mean, they play Georgia Tech. Probably not going to be a loss.
yeah.
Alabama plays Auburn, and
Also, Georgia has deserved to not play anybody good.
yeah, 100%. I mean, the Indiana problem probably solved itself. I think if Indiana loses, they're out. Unless they lose, they got to lose a tight one.
They can't. I'm sorry, you cannot. They only have one loss,
The
man.
committee's going to look for any excuse to leave him out. They're going to look for any excuse because they haven't played any. I mean, they have no wins. But the other side of that is like you're playing. You don't choose your conference schedule,
Yeah.
so like you have no control over who the conference schedules for you. So what are you supposed to do? You beat who you played. Now their out of conference games are pathetic. I'll give them that.
Yeah. I mean, they tried UCLA, or no, UCLA is in the
You see,
Big Ten.
no,
Never
they
mind.
had Charlotte, Western Illinois, and FIU,
Yeah, that's not great.
and they played 9 conference games. So they only had 3. So that you have control over, and that you failed at.
Yeah, but also, do you really have that much control over it because you're Indiana and you don't expect to be that good?
Yeah,
And
you
so
got
you schedule bad teams every year on purpose so that you can make it into a bowl game.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden you didn't know that Sig Signetti is a boss and he's going to get you to the
yeah.
playoff.
Now you're going to be 10-1 after this week. I think they're.
I just wish that this game wasn't at Ohio State. I wish it was at Indiana
Yeah,
because that would make it interesting.
it would. It would be interesting. I mean, they
I
got.
still think Ohio State wins, but I think the game is this is definitely the game where I think Ohio State is like 14-point favorites,
Yeah,
and I think they're going to blow them out.
I think they are. This happens every year in the Big Ten where you have some team that you think usually it's Penn State, but you think it's going to be good, and Ohio State just beats them by 50.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll beat them by 50.
Maybe not 50, but they might
I
beat them by.
think I think they win by at least 3 touchdowns.
And if they win by 3 touchdowns, I think Indiana they're going to take Indiana out of it.
Probably. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. The committee's got a tough job this year, like figuring out who belongs where because it's
I
all
mean, the committee is dying for Texas to beat Texas A&M. They are dying for that to
that
happen
solves that problem.
because if A&M beats Texas, Texas is a legitimate question. Like they become a legitimate question. The first 2 times that they played decent teams, they lost both of them.
I think if Texas loses to A&M, they're out because they're going to be the last in the 2-loss SEC group. So unless a bunch of teams lose, I think they're out.
I don't think they'll put them out.
They may not, but they should.
Now, they should put them out, but the committee loves that cash cow.
Just hilarious. Like they even comparing resumes right now, they should not be the third best team in the nation. I'm sorry.
No, their defense is just so freaking good.
Their
They're so
defense
fun to
is
watch.
good, but they've also played no good offenses, and their offense is not good.
Their offense is kind of like Georgia. It's hit or miss.
Quinn
They
Ewers lost.
they their offense can score on any play.
He
But the
can't.
problem is they have a lot of 3-and-outs before those.
That's the crazy part. Like Quinn Ewers, a lot. I was when I was watching the Arkansas game. It was like he looks when he's in the pocket, he looks totally lost,
Yeah.
and he creates a lot of sacks for himself. And
Yep.
half the time, he's tripping over his offensive lineman's feet, or he's running directly into somebody.
It does happen. Man, Colorado doesn't play anybody either.
No, they're probably in.
I mean, they're gonna put them in for the views.
They're probably in. I mean, they probably have to win the Big 12 championship, but if they win the Big 12, which they legitimately should do, they're probably.
No. And then they're just gonna get boat raced by somebody.
Oh yeah, because you still look at their team like you watch the offensive line. These dudes are like 240 pounds.
I mean, they must be good though, because they keep winning.
They do keep winning. Their offense is decent. Their defense is still a little bit of liability.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about, I guess, some of the games that happened this weekend. We're not gonna go in any particular order, but I guess one of the closest games that I paid attention to ish was that Oregon kind of almost lost on the road. First, like, is that Oregon's like first true ugly ass Big Ten team that they played?
Oh yeah, like
Minnesota or whatever. Like they played Wisconsin. The game was ugly. I mean, was the weather nice or was the
the
weather
weather was fine.
the weather was fine? I could just imagine like, hey, it was rainy and terrible. The weather was terrible, and they
No, it looked fine.
okay.
Oregon's offense looked lost, and Wisconsin just made it ugly.
Yeah, Wisconsin made it ugly, but good for Oregon on the road getting a win. staying number one.
They had to cross two time zones, which is a big deal.
We have talked a lot about that. The time zones, especially in college football, is a real deal.
I will. Did you see that throw by Gabriel? It was 4th and 8 in the fourth quarter. I think there was 10 minutes left to go. Just absolute dime on 4th and 8. And that's the only thing that they probably would
I
have
did
lost.
not.
Otherwise.
I did
Just
not, but good for him.
it was 4th and 8 from like the 50, probably somewhere in that ballpark, and it was a dime.
I am proud of him for getting it done. I don't think that Oregon is that good.
I don't think Oregon wins the national title, but they do keep winning.
I mean, they are also benefited their strength of schedule looks better than other people because they beat Ohio State. But
They're another team that out of conference they played.
I was like, out of Ohio,
Boise.
besides Ohio State, who I guess they did beat Boise State, but they almost lost that game.
Yeah, they I think they won by 3, right?
Yeah, they won by 3.
And they probably could have lost that one too. Which, yeah, Oregon is another one that hasn't. They played a couple. They played Ohio State, so you can't
They
say
played
much.
Ohio State. The other ranked team they played was Illinois, and they did beat the brakes off of Illinois. But I mean, they have played two ranked teams.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this whole thing.
Also, they were lucky against Ohio State that Will Howard just decided to lose his mind.
The only good thing, I guess, like out of the 12 teams, you're probably going to pick the best team out of those 12, and that team's going to win. Whether or
Yeah,
not the 12 or the 12 best, maybe not be the case, but the best team is probably going to win.
yeah. Debatable, but most of the times they will win. You'll get you a New York Giants every once in a
Oh
while, who's
yeah,
definitely not the best team that makes it through, which is fun. Those are great stories.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Oregon's already in. No matter what they do, they're
Yeah, yeah.
in. They're
By the way,
in. Ohio State beat the brakes off of Northwestern.
yeah.
That my only thing about that is that game was shady as all get out because they didn't play it at Northwestern.
I don't know why they played at Wrigley.
They played it at Wrigley because so that more Ohio
Money,
State fans could come.
which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why would you do that?
I believe the Big Ten forced them to.
I would be so mad if I was a Northwestern fan. Like we're playing this one game at Wrigley, so all the Ohio State fans can show up.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It was actually a decently close game through most of the first half,
Yeah,
and then they just they did
yeah.
Ohio State.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that was actually kind of a theme this weekend of the game was close at halftime ish. Same in
And
the NFL, like games were close at halftime and then all of a sudden they became blowouts and
yep,
Texas beat Arkansas. They didn't look great. Arkansas has been a tough team for a lot of people this year. It was at Arkansas. Everyone's going to talk about the history of they used to play each other in the 50s and they hated each other and rah, 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 rah. Arkansas sucks.
yeah, I knew that was a funny narrative to watch. Is like how much hate this rivalry has, and it's like I don't know that any current Arkansas person.
Arkansas people might hate Texas. Not a single Texas person hates
Yeah,
Arkansas.
that's exactly what I was thinking. Like I don't think I don't think either fan base is thinking about each other that much. But I could be wrong about that. But they
Uh,
were sure drumming it up big time on the broadcast.
yeah. All right. BYU lost.
Finally, thank the Lord.
I do think they are a little unjust with where they ranked BYU now, but that's okay. We
For
already
sure.
talked about that though. Like they should still be ahead of SMU. They beat SMU head to head.
Also, BYU they've kind of had the luck of the I don't know, the luck of Joseph Smith this past 3 weeks.
Yeah,
It finally caught up to him.
did finally catch up to them. Uh, Notre Dame whooped Virginia.
Yeah,
Alabama beat Mercer as per usual.
there's
Hey,
really only one. There was like two good games.
yeah, two good games. SMU, Boston College was kind of close, but still not really ever in doubt.
There was a moment SMU went up by 21, I think, and all of a sudden I flipped the channel back and they were tied. And I was like, what
Mm.
in the world?
All of the best games were games that didn't matter.
Yeah, 100%.
Like
Yep.
Florida eliminates
LSU.
LSU from the playoff. They're done. LSU's dead.
Yeah.
But I mean, Florida just out of nowhere became good at football.
Yeah, that was the crazy part about that game was Florida actually looked like a competent football team.
Yeah. Which
Their defense looked great.
Texas is praising that because now it's like, oh, okay, we got a better win. Same with Texas A&M. Like A&M beat them in the swamp. So I mean, good for
The only
that.
difference is when we played them, they actually had a quarterback.
Yeah. South Carolina, Missouri game was nuts.
Yeah, Missouri's finally, we can say they're dead.
Yeah, they're dead. I mean, how the game-winning touchdown for South Carolina, I just don't get how that happens.
Yeah,
Um, like,
both sides. Like Missouri scores like a minute 15 left or whatever,
yeah.
and that was Luther Burden, right?
Oh yeah.
Great catch.
Great catch.
And then I'm thinking, okay, well, South Carolina's dead. Nope. It took
No,
25 seconds,
I knew as soon as I saw the highlight of how Luther Burden celebrated, I was like, you idiot. That
especially with
was,
minute 10 left or whatever it was.
yeah, way too big of a celebration with 1 minute left. Like
Yeah.
that guaranteed your team failure.
Yep. And they
On the
did.
road, if you do that big of a celebration at home, you're good. You do that on the road, you're dead. Like it's just
They
karma's
made
catching up.
it was, I don't get, and I could just be dumb with football. I know that they're calling plays to go deep. So I get that you're not trying to let the guy go over the top. But you've been playing defense for 4 quarters practically.
Yeah,
Why do you just switch it up all of a sudden?
that's a great question.
It does not make sense to me at all. They have a minute. They have a minute 15. Like if you if you stop them on 2 plays, pretty much it's over.
Yeah, with college, that's just so much time. A minute 15 is just like an eternity. But but yes, I agree. We don't like prevent defense. I feel like you just run cover three,
Yeah, just play a normal defense.
what I would do.
Because what they do, they play the prevent and they just send a guy across the middle on like a medium route. They gain 20 yards of play.
Yeah, could you I don't know. I'd have to like think it up more in my head. Could you just you could do three down linemen, that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
And then just run basically you just run cover two with a deep middle safety. So you're just combined cover three and cover two.
He'd probably be fine.
And like, yeah.
They
Because
literally
then
just run.
you have both flats, like and you're playing with like a hard flat.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you got your backers at 10, and then
So
the
did it 15, 20 yards.
yeah, just
I almost think in college you should make them throw it deep because half the time they're going to overthrow them anyways. Probably more than half the time they're going to overthrow them anyways. But they play that soft defense and then they just I mean it takes them 5 plays to get all the way down the field.
yeah, in college football, I would love to like blitz the house, but I'm afraid of a missed tackle. That's the only thing.
Especially, well, South Carolina they're good at having the
Yeah, in professional football, I'm all about, hey, heat them up.
yeah. It took 6 plays to go 70 yards in 47 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean it's not great. They never even got to third down. I mean I just think it's the defense play calling
Yeah,
gets crazy at the end of games.
I agree. All right, let's look ahead to the future. Obviously the big game this weekend. I assume that College Game Day is going to Ohio State this weekend.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, is Indiana versus Ohio State. We've talked a lot about this already, but uh, Indiana's only chance is that Will Howard poops his pants multiple times. Like that's their only chance.
That's what I think too. I think it's going to be I think it'll be a 20-30 game very quick.
Um, I hope not though.
We
I
don't have
love
to tell something you don't.
Indiana's been a fun story.
They are a fun story, but I think they're going to get boat race in that one. I could be wrong. I saw what's his face, Joey Galloway on some college football show was saying that Indiana should sit their quarterback because what's going to happen? That he's going to get hurt, and then they're going to be out of it. But if they
Mhm.
sit him, he can't get hurt. They might get boat raced, but they should still be in it.
I think getting boat raced really kills their
I
chances
do
though if
too.
you
I think
call
if
them.
they get boat raced, it's over. I think they're out.
All right. Are there any other possible like big games for the playoffs?
The
Let's
only other interesting one, I think, well, not the only one, but Ole Miss, Florida could
Ole Miss,
be
Florida in the swamp.
the swamp could be interesting.
I
I
mean,
think that I don't think that Kentucky's going to win, but I think Kentucky, Texas, and Auburn A&M is going to be interesting just because of the look ahead factor.
Yeah, I think BYU Arizona State is not that interesting because either team that makes the playoffs will probably lose their first game.
And
But
I think you have if you're a Big 12 team, I think you pretty much need to win your the Big 12 championship to even get in. I
correct.
think.
I'm just saying Arizona State could put themselves into the Big 12 championship game
Yep.
if they beat BYU.
And
So
Colorado has got two. They play Kansas, and Kansas is all of a sudden looking like decent.
yeah,
The
that's kind
offense
of
still looks a little dead though.
I don't South Carolina can't make the playoffs, surely, right?
No, they lost 3 times. They're out.
Yeah. There's no way South Carolina makes the SEC championship. No, there's no way.
Pretty much Texas, Texas A&M, Auburn, or Georgia, or Georgia or Alabama, unless Texas loses to Kentucky or we lose to Auburn. Otherwise,
I
much.
don't see any world where Texas loses to Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky will score more than 10 points. Um,
I don't necessarily. I mean, somehow we're 2.5 point favorites against Auburn. Auburn is they will throw 7 interceptions at least. And they'll probably fumble it 4 or 5 times too.
man, we say that we suck against Auburn too. We can never block their defensive line.
They look better than they did about 3 weeks ago. I don't know. As long as those two games turn out as expected,
Auburn is for A&M is on the road. I still will never trust our offense because
the road part is the only portion that makes me nervous. But we haven't had to play hardly anyone on the road, so. But if those two things happen, it's either I think Missouri has to lose both their games in order for Georgia to get in. It's pretty much Alabama or Texas and Texas A or Texas A&M.
I mean that I have not watched I think a single football game of Auburn to be fair. This
They
year.
turn the ball over about 24 times a game.
That's fair, but that line makes me think that Auburn has a good offensive line. That's or great defensive line, one of the two, because that line makes no sense.
I think it's all the look ahead game. That's all I can think of. It's who even plays quarterback for them? Peyton Thorne, sometimes some guy named Hank Brown, I think. Hank Brown, Hank
I
something.
mean, we say all this. If you look at ESPN, their quarterback is thrown for more yards than us, their running back has run for more yards than us, and their best wide receiver. Like all of the stats are about Auburn. So somehow Auburn has a better offense than we do. Obviously, we have a
They don't
much better
score
defense.
points. That's the
They don't
problem.
score points.
They do not score.
Uh,
They put okay. I take that back. They put up 73 against Alabama A&M, so that's probably pads the stats a bit.
no, somehow I just got significantly nervous about this Auburn game.
45 against New Mexico. Any good team they played, they put up 17, 13, 21, 14, 14, 7. And that's the only good teams they played. The most they've scored against any normal team is Kentucky. They scored 24.
The only good news for A&M in this scenario is this is a look ahead game for Auburn as well.
Yeah, except for they have nothing to play for. So either
No,
way,
yes, they do. They have everything to play for. They could knock Alabama out of the playoffs. That's an Auburn dream.
yeah, they could just spoil Alabama's season.
Like they could just be preparing for Alabama. That's it.
They definitely care about.
Because for Auburn to make a bowl game, they have to win both.
They just do not score. They score a lot of points against the bad teams. They don't score against anyone else.
That makes me nervous because we just don't score. I knew
I'm
looking
not that
at
nervous until I
I
saw.
knew looking this past weekend at A&M being 39-point favorites was stupid because there's no way we're going to score 39 points.
That was bizarre because actually the first like 4 minutes of the game, I was like, okay, we might actually cover, and then it just died. The offense just
God,
died.
our offense just is pathetic.
Connor Wigman, he either he got out there and didn't care. Something happened in his head because he got out there and he looked terrible.
He's just not good.
Yeah, I think he something went.
Uh,
Something.
Whoever is in charge at A&M of recruiting quarterbacks needs to be fired.
Yeah, we just lost a 5-star kid.
I just because all the time, how many times have we had, oh, we got the number blah
Yeah,
blah blah quarterback.
maybe the
He's
last
gonna
one's
be
worked out.
super great, and then they come here and they all suck.
That's been a problem for the past decade since Johnny.
Yeah, says Johnny left. Oh, Here comes Trevor Knight. Was all right, to be honest. Like Trevor Knight. Here's Kenny Trill. Sucked. Here's Kyler Murray. Was very good, but for some reason we let him go. Sucks.
That was before like even like the true transfer portal era too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope what happens this weekend is we go up like the first quarter, go up 14-0, and that game's over. Because Auburn will not score. They'll start pressing and they will throw 4 interceptions. That dude, both their quarterbacks just throw interceptions and fumble. I think they have to have the most turnovers in NCAA
I hope so.
because they turn it over a lot.
Yeah. That game needs like a we get the ball first, we score a touchdown. They turn the ball over on their first drive. We score another touchdown. Game in our hands.
I really hope, and then get it over with, and let's get to next week.
Oh, next week is going to be. I don't know what. Oh, actually, I want to look ahead at this. Do we think any of the books have released any lines for Texas A&M versus
I,
Texas?
I bet it's going to be 6.5,
No,
7.
I'm not even looking at the point spread. I know exactly what I want. Oh, there's no way. I bet it's not out yet. Texas versus Texas A&M is minus 7.5 for Texas at the moment. Yeah, they're not going to have it. Um, I am definitely
Well,
going to be rolling with whatever our team total under is going to be on that game.
I see. Oh, it's man, it varies wildly. FanDuel has it at 7.5. Bally's has it at 4.5.
Shoot,
uh,
4.5.
there's a
Book
couple.
that right now. That's free money.
There's a couple fours,
No,
couple 4.5s.
y'all, we like to say that there are no guarantees in sports betting, but Texas minus 4.5 against Texas A&M is one of those free money bets right there because our offense is putrid.
Yeah, FanDuel's the biggest at 7.5. The rest are at like 4.5, 4. I don't know. I think we have a legit shot in that game.
Nope, not even a chance.
I think our
I like Marcel Reed. He has done a great job for us this season. Our offense becomes just one dimensional and pretty bad.
we got to make it ugly, but I don't think their offense is all that great either. That's the only
I
thing.
don't either, but I think it's going to be the same thing uh, that I've watched them play the past 3 weeks. If they can get to 17 points, they're going to win.
I do think A&M's got to make it ugly, but I think that's a possibility. The other thing is you can't miss 100 tackles.
That's true. I don't think that Texas will be able to run the ball because Texas hasn't been able to run the ball against anybody. Their three receivers are way better than our three receivers.
The only thing, like the past couple weeks, Quinn overthrows every single one of them.
That's fine, but their guys are catch and run machines on short routes.
Oh, they're better
And
than our receivers. Our receivers are terrible.
our receivers suck.
Which is
Quinn is gonna throw a pick, guaranteed as well. He does that. Or he'll at least throw one to you in the first quarter that you should catch. Same thing happened in Arkansas. I think it was Sarah and I were watching it, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but within his like first five throws, he throws one straight to the other team. And throw number four, he threw right to an Arkansas linebacker who just dropped it, and that would have changed the game. I don't, but
I still think they're off. I think Texas offense is not very good.
I do as well. I think that their offense is still good enough against our defense to score 17. I don't think that their offense is still better than our offense. I don't care what you say.
The defense too. Like if you look at who they played, the offense, the best offense I think they played is like ranked like 50 something. They just haven't played any offenses. And I'm not saying their defense isn't good. Their defense is probably good,
Their defense is good.
but they also
Also, their defense is
worth it.
built to play against the offense that we run. Like we can't throw.
That's gonna be if somehow
If we could throw the ball, I would feel confident, but we can't throw a football.
I'm gonna
Yet
hope
another year, we have multiple quarterbacks who cannot throw a football.
are.
I don't know who is in charge of scouting quarterbacks at A&M, but fire them immediately.
Well, the thing is, it goes across like multiple staffs.
Fire them all then. I don't
First,
care. I don't want another, he's the top dual threat quarterback in his class. I don't want that. I want the guy who can throw the freaking football.
yeah, Marcel. I mean, Marcel played okay. I mean, he's 20 at 31 for 270.
I mean, he played well against New Mexico.
The week before was ugly.
He played great against LSU because he just ran. He never threw. He threw
He threw the
one
ball twice.
time.
I think twice.
He did throw twice,
It was
but
2 for
he
like
threw one big throw, and then
yeah.
everything. His other throw was like a screen that went sideways.
The other thing that scares me is Le'Veon Moss. If we had Le'Veon Moss, I feel much better. Amari Daniels is fine. I don't think Amari Daniels is bad. Actually, Amari Daniels is not the concern. It's the concern is that you're going from Amari Daniels to EJ Smith or whatever.
Yeah,
That
that drop off is huge.
that dude is terrible. I mean, he's bad.
He's not good.
It doesn't even make sense. Like I feel like a guy you just get the ball and run to an open spot. He doesn't seem capable of doing so.
What really blows me is why was Emmett Smith so set on sending all of his kids to A&M?
We went to Stanford first.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like his daughter played soccer at A&M.
Yeah. I don't know.
So like, I
Maybe just,
mean,
I mean they probably live in Dallas, so
yeah, I mean, he's Emmett Smith. He definitely could have sent his kid to Texas if he wanted him to,
or Florida.
or whatever. I'm just saying, like he could have, like if he wanted him to still play at a big school in Texas, he could have sent his kid to Texas. They would have taken him.
He's bad. He's a bad football player. that that's like the most shocking thing to me is like just get the ball and run. But if it's Amari Daniels or Le'Veon Moss, they can do it. EJ Smith, he gets in there, he'll be stopped. He might gain 2 yards.
He's our Ezekiel Elliott. He'll get you exactly 2 yards every time.
Yeah, it's actually kind of like shockingly bad.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see. The next 2 weeks that'll be interesting.
They better be. I mean, what happens if all the favorites win? That's the question. I mean,
That's
if
crazy.
all the favorites win, A&M is done.
Yeah,
Um,
that we'll lose to Tech. I mean, we'll lose to Texas. So.
so then you just get
A&M's route is very simple. You have to win all of them.
you got to win all. I just mean if all the favorites win, you get Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee. There's no way you get five SEC teams in the playoff. It's not possible.
I think Tennessee's the one that's most likely to get left out. If I also think that Texas has to win out, or else I think they're done too.
I'm just saying, like they have no that Texas. I'm sorry, they won't. Sorry, Texas can't lose to Kentucky. If
I
Texas loses to us, they're gonna keep them in.
who do they? Who's their best win? Vanderbilt's their best win.
It doesn't matter. They will bump Tennessee.
It just
Who's
feels.
Tennessee's? But there's a reason why Texas is number 3
Yeah, I don't know what that reason is. I would love to know it.
because they're Texas.
Who has Tennessee beaten?
No one.
They beat. They beat Alabama. Beat Florida. Pretty much Alabama, Florida, or Alabama. Yeah, Alabama, Florida. The thing for Tennessee is they lost to Arkansas, which is not great.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I think Tennessee's most likely to get left out. If everything's chalk, Tennessee will get left out.
yeah. If oh it, it's just like who jumps Tennessee is the question. If everything goes chalk, they already have Tennessee ranked ahead of SMU and BYU. So there's no well,
One of
sorry,
those is going to be a four
one of
top.
the Big 12 teams has to make it in, and none of them are in the top 12.
Yeah,
That's
so
the problem.
you knock teams down.
So you knock Tennessee out because Boise State has to be in.
I really do believe Indiana will be out.
Man, if Boise State loses, who's the next? Army?
Boise State plays Army.
No, I'm just saying if Boise State loses, who's the next
Oh yeah,
random team that comes in? I mean, it's not gonna be Army because Army plays Notre Dame this week and they're gonna lose by 50.
yeah, probably.
Tulane? Like, who's the random team that's gonna make it into the playoff?
Probably Tulane is probably one of the best ones, honestly.
And they're gonna lose by 1,000.
At least whoever that Notre Dame being the fifth seed is going to get that.
Yeah.
Or actually, it'll be Penn State probably or Ohio State.
Oh, wait, shouldn't Notre Dame count as the team?
No,
That's
they're independent. They're not a group of five, which is really dumb.
all right. I
They
I
have to join a
I
conference.
am officially that Notre Dame has to join a conference.
I mean, Tennessee's ranked 11th, so they could very easily be out right now. Right
My
now, they
point
would.
is just that if everything goes chalk and Tennessee wins their next two games, the committee has already said that they are higher ranked than SMU and BYU.
But
That's
one of
the
those
thing.
jump ahead. One of those is going to jump ahead of them because one of those, or Colorado is.
Not as say either, yeah, not necessarily SMU, but
SMU could because they. I mean, they're going to play Miami in the ACC championship game.
yeah,
SMU,
but then Miami's gonna get bounced
yeah, then Miami will be out. I think the
because
ACC is getting one.
Miami will get bounced because their only two losses are to the two good teams they played.
Yeah, I think ACC is getting one in there. So BYU or Colorado are going to jump Tennessee.
Yeah, so Tennessee needs someone to lose.
Yeah, which probably somebody will, I guess, but who knows?
I mean, the only person it could be is Ole Miss, right?
Yeah, I mean Georgia plays Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's okay.
It's
Alabama,
gotta
Auburn.
it's gotta be Ole Miss at Florida. Like,
Somebody's going to get upset. There's going to be a big upset.
I mean, Indiana's gonna lose, but that's not an upset. That's the
Uh,
thing. So it's gonna be intriguing on sorry, Indiana or Ohio State. One of them is gonna lose this weekend.
Ohio State
And
would still, I think, if they lost.
it's gonna be really Ohio State with two losses is gonna be really intriguing where they put them. Obviously, they're gonna put them high because they lost to the number one and number five teams in the country, and they're Ohio State. But
Yeah,
if Ohio State loses this weekend, they've got the same problem Texas did. Every time they play a good team, they lose.
100%. The well, except for if you consider Penn State any good. Uh,
I don't.
I think yeah, it's going to be weird. I don't know what's going to happen. It's very confusing. I thought 12 teams would be more obvious. It's not obvious because there's too many. There's too many stipulations. It needs to be the 12 best teams, and that's it.
Or just, 8. 4 was
Even
fine.
with 8, how do you?
I was fine with 2. I was fine with the 2 best teams.
I think we
Bring
should
back the BCS era. BCS was great.
go back to like the 80s where we were just you just play your games, and then at the end of the year, the AP would just vote you national champions.
If you have lost a game, you don't get to be in the national championship. Sucks. Let's go back to that. That was great. That was great football.
But we're gonna have too many. Will there be 3 teams that haven't lost a game?
All right. Coin flip then. Let's do it. Let's see it.
I'm a fan of the 12 teamers. I just it's gonna be confusing who's gonna be in.
I'm just saying the best national championship that we ever had was undefeated USC versus undefeated Texas.
We'd have to go back to the normal conferences, which is never going to happen.
That's fair.
That's the only problem with that because the problem there's just too much variation who's playing who.
All right.
I feel like the Big 12 or the whatever the Pac-12, whatever, all these conferences could eliminate teams very easily because people were playing the same or similar teams.
Yeah.
Now different teams. It's very confusing.
Yeah. Time for a mega conference. Just get the best of the best.
Yeah, I think you just take top 48 or something and let them play each other.
No, because you can't have a teams play 48.
No, but like you split them into you do NFL style. You take 48, put them in conferences of 12, and out of those 48, because 12, if you're not factoring in like we have to have a group of 5 team in who's going to get absolutely destroyed by 75 points.
Yeah.
Why do we even care about that? I don't know. We have to have a Big 12 team in who's going to get destroyed by 75 points.
Yeah. So the problem is if you're a smaller school, You just assume like if they were to do that and they did like Division One, Division Two, Division Three, Division Four, Division Five, you're just assuming that you don't want to do that as a smaller school because no one's gonna watch Division Three, which would be like the MAC.
Yeah, you have no. I mean, you have no
But
chance.
no one already watches the MAC.
Yeah, occasionally I'll turn. I used to watch it more.
I
I
mean,
don't.
I'm just saying like their numbers are terrible. They play on Tuesday night. You
Yeah,
you look inside the stadium and there's 12 kids there.
yeah. There's nobody there.
So like there
I,
it's got to be that they're getting the TV deal so they don't want to do the multiple divisions.
I think it's gonna. What's more likely to happen? This is sad. It's gonna be totally separate from the schools, and the smaller schools are just gonna disappear. That's what I think is
Probably.
the likely outcome. Because the Big 12, the Big Ten, and the SEC are going to want to have all these like extra privileges that the smaller schools aren't going to want to give them, and then they're just going to say, "Okay, we'll just leave because we basically support all y'all right now."
Yeah.
I don't know. College football's in a weird spot.
Gonna have a college football monopoly.
That's very likely, I think, right now. It's all money.
That's true. All right, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna hope and pray for some upsets this weekend, except for not Auburn versus Alabama or versus A&M. We're gonna hope that A&M wins. Um, I'm also just gonna say I hope Texas beats Kentucky because I'm gonna be at that game. So I would prefer it if my family wasn't miserable. Um, but yeah, well let's see some chaos. Let's make it impossible for the committee to decide. Let's see all of the top teams in the Big 12 lose this weekend and just see what happens.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Probably not gonna happen. Probably it's all gonna be chalk across the board.
Probably, and then we're going to be in the same predicament again. So
Yeah.
2 weeks
All
from
right.
the end.
We'll see y'all next week. Have a good one. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Football is King podcast. We appreciate you. We are going to be more consistent with our episodes coming out now.
Yeah, we
See you
are.
next time.